The massive ship moved silently through the darkness of space. It was bigger than any city on Earth, made of strange metal that seemed to bend light around it. Inside the ship, Captain Vextar stood before a huge screen showing a blue and green planet. His 6 eyes studied the world below with cold interest. "What do we know about this species?" Vextar asked his science officer. Officer Clienth pulled up data on her screen. Her tentacles moved quickly over the controls. "They call themselves humans, Captain. Very primitive. They still fight wars with each other using basic weapons. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours." Vextar nodded slowly. The Zephyrian Collective had been expanding across the galaxy for centuries. They had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved hundreds of species. This blue planet looked like it would be easy to take. "Show me their military strength," he ordered. The screen changed to show human cities and military bases. Vextar saw small flying machines that humans called jets. He saw their primitive rockets that could barely reach their own moon. He saw their simple weapons that fired metal bullets. "Pathetic," Vextar said with a laugh that sounded like grinding metal. "My personal guard could defeat their entire planet with basic equipment." On the bridge, other Zephyrian officers joined in the laughter. Commander Kexra, Vextar's second-in-command, stepped forward. She was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. "Captain, our scans show they have large populations in cities. Perfect for slave labor? Their planet has good water and many useful minerals. The Supreme Chancellor will be pleased." Vextar studied the data more. He watched videos of humans walking in their cities, working in their factories, playing with their children. They looked soft and weak. They had no natural weapons like claws or poison. They could not even see in the dark properly. "Look at how they waste their time," Vextar said, pointing at images of humans playing sports and making art. "They spend energy on useless activities instead of preparing for war. They are emotional and weak. This will be the easiest conquest in collective history." Far below on Earth, Commander Jake Morrison sat in a dark room filled with computer screens. He worked at Peterson Space Command in Colorado. His job was to watch for threats from space. For the past 3 days, his instruments had been picking up strange signals. Jake stared at the readings on his screen. The numbers did not make sense. There were energy patterns coming from somewhere past the moon, but they were unlike anything he had ever seen before. "Hey, Pete," Jake called to his partner at the next desk. "Come look at this." Pete Collins walked over and looked at Jake's screen. He scratched his head and frowned. "That's weird," Pete said. "Maybe the satellite is broken. These readings are crazy." Jake had been in the military for 15 years. He had learned to trust his instincts, and something felt very wrong about these signals. "I'm going to write a report," Jake said. "Command needs to know about this." Pete shook his head. "Jake, they'll think you're crazy. Those readings could be anything: solar flares, equipment problems, space junk. Don't make trouble for yourself." But Jake was already typing his report. He described the strange energy signatures and recommended immediate investigation. He sent the report to his superior, Colonel Frank Weber. 3 hours later, Jake got a message back from Colonel Weber. It was short and not friendly. "Morrison, equipment malfunction suspected. Have tech team check all instruments. No further action required. Do not submit additional reports on this matter." Jake stared at the message with anger. He knew his equipment was working fine. Something was out there, and no one wanted to listen. Meanwhile, at a research station in Antarctica, Dr. Lisa Parker was having the same problem. She worked alone at the remote station, studying electromagnetic fields in the atmosphere. For the past week, her instruments had been going crazy. Lisa was a smart woman who had studied physics at the best universities. She knew the difference between normal electromagnetic activity and something strange. What she was seeing was definitely strange. The readings showed patterns that could not be natural. They were too organized, too precise. It was like someone was scanning Earth with very advanced technology. Lisa tried calling her supervisor, Dr. Kevin Adams, who worked at the main research facility in California. "Dr. Adams, this is Lisa. I'm getting some very unusual readings down here. I think you need to see this data. Dr. Adams sounded tired and busy. Lisa, we've talked about this before. You're isolated down there. Sometimes equipment acts up in those conditions. Have you tried recalibrating your instruments? I've checked everything 3 times, Lisa said. This is not equipment failure. These electromagnetic patterns are artificial. Someone is scanning our planet. There was a long pause on the phone. Lisa, I'm going to be direct with you. Your contract is up for review next month. Don't make waves with crazy theories. Just do your job and collect standard data. The call ended, leaving Lisa alone with her instruments and her fears. Back on the Zephyrian ship, Captain Vexstar was finishing his assessment report for the Supreme Chancellor. Species designation, human, threat level, minimal. Recommended action. Immediate subjugation. Estimated resistance time, less than 1 planetary rotation. Estimated casualties to collective forces, 0. He smiled as he sent the report. The Supreme Chancellor would be pleased. Earth would provide millions of new slaves and vast resources for the collective's next expansion phase. Prepare the subjugation fleet, Vexstar ordered. We attack in 1 lunar cycle. This will be a simple harvest operation. The Zephyrians had made this same mistake many times before. They looked at other species and saw only their weaknesses. They saw humans as emotional and divided. They saw their simple technology and primitive weapons. They saw their small size and soft skin. What they did not see was the determination that lived in the human heart. They did not understand the power of human creativity when faced with impossible odds. They could not measure the strength that came from protecting the people you love. Most importantly, they did not know that some humans, like Jake Morrison and Dr. Lisa Parker, were already watching the stars and preparing for the worst, the greatest mistake the Zephyrian collective would ever make was thinking that humans would be easy prey. They were about to learn a lesson that would change the galaxy forever. Image. Description for Leonardo AI. A massive alien spacecraft hovering in the darkness of space above Earth. With the blue and green planet visible below, the ship has an otherworldly design with smooth, curved surfaces made of dark metallic material that seems to bend light. Inside the ship's bridge, tall, gray-skinned aliens with multiple arms and eyes are standing before large holographic displays showing Earth's surface. The scene has a cold, sterile feeling with blue and purple lighting from the alien technology. Earth appears small and vulnerable beneath the enormous alien vessel, emphasizing the size difference and the threat looming over humanity. 3 weeks after Captain Vexstar finished his report, the first alien probes launched toward Earth. They were small ships, about the size of a school bus, but packed with advanced technology. The Zephyrians called them Harvest Scouts. Their job was simple: map human defenses, capture specimens for study, and test how easily humans would surrender. Lieutenant Ryan Bell had been stationed at Fort Richardson in Alaska for 2 years. It was a small military base with only 50 soldiers. Most people thought it was a boring assignment, but Ryan liked the quiet. He was a simple man who grew up on a farm in Ohio. He joined the army to serve his country and protect people. On a cold Tuesday morning in March, Ryan was drinking coffee in the base command center when Sergeant Tony Martinez came running in. "Lieutenant, you need to see this," Tony said. Pointing out the window, Ryan looked up and saw something that made his blood freeze. A strange object was floating above the base. It was dark gray and had no wings, no propellers, nothing that should make it fly. The object was perfectly silent and moved in ways that no human aircraft could move. "Get everyone to battle stations," Ryan ordered. "Sound the alarm." The base alarm started wailing. Soldiers ran from their barracks with weapons in their hands. Ryan grabbed his radio and tried to call headquarters. "Command, this is Fort Richardson. We have an unknown aircraft over our base, requesting immediate support." Static was the only answer. The radio was dead. "Sir, all our communications are down," reported Corporal Lisa Brown from the radio station. "It's like something is jamming everything." Ryan looked back at the strange ship. It was getting lower. As it moved closer to the ground, He could see it had no windows, no doors, nothing that looked human. This was not from Earth. Suddenly, a beam of blue light shot down from the ship. The light hit Private Danny Foster, who was standing in the open. Danny screamed and then disappeared. 1 second he was there, the next second he was gone, pulled up into the ship by the light. "Open fire!" Ryan shouted. 50 soldiers started shooting at the alien ship with their rifles. The bullets hit the ship's surface but seemed to do nothing. The ship's hull did not crack or dent. It was like shooting at a mountain. The blue beam came down again. This time it grabbed Sergeant Kate Wilson. She fought against the beam, but it lifted her up like she weighed nothing. Ryan knew he had to do something fast or his entire team would be taken. He ran to the base's weapon storage and grabbed an anti-tank rocket launcher. It was their heaviest weapon. "Cover me!" Ryan yelled to his soldiers. Ryan aimed the rocket launcher at the alien ship and fired. The rocket hit the ship's side with a huge explosion. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Ryan saw small sparks coming from where the rocket hit. The alien ship made a sound like metal breaking. It started to move in jerky, uncontrolled ways. The blue beam flickered and died. "Keep shooting," Ryan ordered. "We heard it." The soldiers fired everything they had. Machine guns, grenades, more rockets. The alien ship tried to fly away, but something was wrong with it. Black smoke started coming from its hull. Ryan grabbed another rocket and fired it at the ship. This one hit near what looked like an engine. The ship shook violently and started falling toward the ground. The alien probe crashed into the forest. 2 miles from the base, trees broke and fell as the ship dug a deep hole in the frozen ground. Then everything was quiet. Ryan and his team waited for an hour before they moved toward the crash site. They found the alien ship buried nose first in the earth. It was badly damaged, with holes in its hull and strange green liquid leaking from cracks. "Nobody touch anything," Ryan warned his soldiers. "We don't know if it's dangerous." 2 days later, Colonel Amy Harrison arrived from Washington with a team of scientists and engineers. Amy was a career military officer who had seen combat in 3 different wars. But even she was shocked by what she found in the Alaska wilderness. "You actually shot down an alien spacecraft with conventional weapons?" Amy asked Ryan as they stood next to the crashed probe. "Yes, ma'am," Ryan replied. "It wasn't easy, but we got lucky. The rockets seemed to damage some kind of control system." Amy walked around the crashed ship with her team of experts. The metal was like nothing they had ever seen. It was incredibly strong, but had been cracked by the human weapons. Dr. Steve Johnson, a technology expert, was taking pictures of everything. "Colonel, this is amazing. This technology is centuries ahead of ours, but it's not invincible. Look at these blast marks. Our explosives actually penetrated their hull." Inside the ship, they found the bodies of 3 aliens. They looked like the descriptions from old science fiction movies, but seeing them in real life was different. They were tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. They wore strange uniforms made of a material that felt like metal, but bent like cloth. The most important discovery was the ship's computer system. Even though it was damaged, parts of it still worked. The scientists were able to copy some of the data before the systems completely failed. "This is proof," Amy told Ryan. "Real proof that we are not alone in the universe. And more importantly, proof that these aliens are not friendly." Back in space, Captain Vexstar received the news about his lost probe. He stared at the report in disbelief. "How is this possible?" he asked Officer Client. "The humans destroyed a collective scout ship?" The probe's final transmission showed primitive explosive weapons damaging critical systems, Client replied. "It appears the humans have more destructive capability than our scans indicated." Vexstar was quiet for a long time. No species had ever successfully fought back against collective technology before. Most civilizations surrendered as soon as they saw the ships. Others tried to fight but were crushed instantly. "This must be a lucky accident," Vexstar finally said. "One damaged probe means nothing. These humans just got fortunate. Their weapons should not be able to harm our technology." But deep down, Vextar felt something he had never felt before when facing a primitive species. He felt doubt, the probe. Incident changed everything for both sides. On Earth, governments finally had proof that aliens existed and that they were hostile. Secret meetings were held in every major capital. Military budgets were increased. Weapons factories started working around the clock. For the Zephyrians, the incident was the first crack in their confidence. For thousands of years, they had been the strongest force in the galaxy. No one had ever successfully fought back. But these small, weak humans had somehow destroyed one of their ships. Ryan Bell became the first human to win a battle against alien technology. He did not know it yet, but his victory would inspire resistance movements across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved by the Zephyrians would hear about the humans who fought back and won. The war had not officially started yet, but the first shot had been fired. And surprisingly, the humans had fired it. Image description for Leonardo AI. A crashed alien spacecraft buried nose first in a snowy Alaskan forest with broken trees around it. The ship is dark gray with an otherworldly design, showing blast damage and holes in its hull with strange green liquid leaking out. Human soldiers in winter military gear are cautiously approaching the wreckage with weapons drawn. In the background, a small military base can be seen with smoke rising from recent battle. The scene shows the aftermath of the first successful human defense against alien technology, with the damaged probe partially buried in frozen ground and debris scattered around the crash site. 6 months had passed since the Alaska incident. Earth's governments were now taking the alien threat seriously, but they were not ready for what came next. The Zephyrian Collective had decided to test human resolve with a larger attack. They chose a target they thought would be easy, a small mining colony on the asteroid Ceres. Ben Torres had been running the Ceres mining operation for 3 years. He was a good man who cared about his workers like they were family. The colony had 200 people living in connected domes under the asteroid's surface. They mined precious metals and rare minerals to send back to Earth. Ben was 45 years old with gray hair and kind eyes. He had grown up poor in Texas and worked his way up through the mining company. Everyone on Ceres respected him because he always put the safety of his people first. Nicole Davis was the colony's security chief. She was a former Marine who had served in Afghanistan before taking the job on Ceres. Nicole was tough and smart, with short black hair and muscles from years of military training. She had 20 security guards under her command, but they were equipped to handle miners' disputes and equipment accidents, not alien invasions. On a quiet Thursday morning, Nicole was checking the perimeter sensors when alarms started screaming throughout the colony. She ran to the main control room where Ben was staring at the screens with a pale face. "What is it?" Nicole asked. "Ships," Ben said quietly. 3 of them. Coming fast. On the screen, Nicole could see 3 alien vessels approaching Ceres. They were much larger than the probe that had crashed in Alaska. These were real warships, bristling with weapons and glowing with alien energy. "Get on the emergency channel," Nicole told the communications officer. "Send a distress signal to Earth. Tell them we're under attack." The first alien ship landed near the main entrance to the colony. Through the security cameras, Ben and Nicole watched as dozens of Zephyrian soldiers poured out of the ship. They wore powered armor and carried weapons that shot bolts of energy. Instead of bullets, Admiral Kethris stepped out of the lead ship and surveyed the human colony with satisfaction. He was the nephew of Supreme Chancellor Zarketh, the leader of the entire Zephyrian Collective. Kethris had volunteered for this mission to prove himself worthy of greater command. "Humans of this facility," Kethris announced over loudspeakers, "you will surrender immediately. Resistance will result in death. You have 10 minutes to open your doors and submit to collective authority." In the control room, Ben gathered his senior staff. Nicole stood beside him along with Chief Engineer Carl Murphy and Medical Officer Dr. Janet Stewart. "What are our options?" Ben asked. Nicole shook her head grimly. "We have 20 guards with basic weapons against 100 alien soldiers with advanced armor. We can't fight them directly. Carl spoke up. The main mining charges are still in storage. We have enough explosives to level half the asteroid? That would kill everyone, Dr. Stewart said with horror. Ben was quiet for a long moment, thinking hard. Through the windows, he could see the alien soldiers setting up weapons pointed at the colony domes. He knew that if they surrendered, these aliens would either kill them or make them slaves. He had read the reports from Alaska. He knew what these creatures were capable of. Open the communication channel, Ben told the radio operator. This is Colony Administrator Ben Torres, he said. Into the microphone. We need more time to consider your demands. Our people are scared? Give us 1 hour to prepare for surrender? Admiral Kethris laughed. Humans are even weaker than I expected. You have 30 minutes, not 1 hour. If your doors are not open by then, we will blast them open and kill half your population as an example. Ben turned off the communication and looked at his staff. Nicole, get all civilians to the emergency shelters in the deepest part of the colony. Carl, show me where those mining charges are stored. 20 minutes later, Ben stood in the mining equipment storage area with Carl and Nicole. Hundreds of explosive charges were stacked on metal shelves. Each charge was designed to blast through solid rock. Together, they had enough power to destroy a small mountain. Ben, you can't be serious about this, Nicole said. There has to be another way. Ben looked at his friends with sad eyes. The aliens are going to kill us anyway. If we surrender, they'll use us as slaves or lab rats. If we fight with guns, they'll slaughter everyone in 5 minutes. But if we do this, maybe we can hurt them enough that they'll think twice before attacking other human colonies. Carl understood first. You want to set off all the charges at once. When they break down the doors and come inside, the explosion will destroy the whole colony, Nicole said. We'll all die, I know, Ben said quietly. But we'll take their ships and soldiers with us. And maybe, just maybe, other humans will hear about what we did here and know they can fight back too. Admiral Kethris was growing impatient. The 30 minutes were almost up, and the human doors were still closed. He decided to make an example by destroying one of the smaller domes with his ship's weapons. The energy blast tore through the dome's metal shell like paper. Inside, the dome had been empty because Nicole had moved everyone to the deep shelters, but Kethris did not know that. Attention humans, he announced. That was a warning. Open your doors now or we will destroy another section. In the control room, Ben watched the alien admiral on the security cameras. The alien was standing directly between his 3 ships, surrounded by his personal guards and most of his soldiers. Nicole, are the civilians safe? Ben asked. They're as deep as we can get them, Nicole replied. The blast doors are sealed. Ben picked up the detonator for the mining charges. It was a simple device with one red button. He looked at his friends. One last time. Tell Earth what happened here, Ben said. Tell them that we didn't surrender. Tell them that humans fight back. Nicole grabbed the emergency transmitter and started recording. This is Security Chief Nicole Davis of Ceres Colony. We are under attack by alien forces. Administrator Ben Torres is making the ultimate sacrifice to defend our people and hurt the enemy. Remember us. Remember that we fought back. She sent the message toward Earth just as Ben pressed the button. The explosion was visible from Earth's telescopes. It lit up the asteroid belt like a new star for 30 seconds. When the light faded, Ceres Colony was gone. The 3 Zephyrian ships were gone. Admiral Kethris and all his soldiers were gone. Ben Torres and 43 other humans had died in the blast. But they had also killed 300 Zephyrian soldiers and destroyed 3 advanced warships. When news of the explosion reached the Zephyrian Collective, Supreme Chancellor Zarketh went into a rage that lasted for days. His nephew was dead. 3 warships were destroyed. And worst of all, the humans had chosen death over surrender? These creatures are animals, Zarketh declared to his war council. They care nothing for their own lives. They are too dangerous to be allowed to exist. We will not try to capture them anymore. We will exterminate every human in the galaxy. On Earth, Nicole's message was played on every news channel and radio station. The image of Ben Torres became a symbol of human resistance. His sacrifice proved that humans could hurt the aliens, even if it cost them everything. Within a week, every human colony in space was preparing for war. They had learned the lesson of series. Surrender meant death. But fighting back might give them a chance. The spark had been lit. The war between humans and the Zephyrian Collective was about to begin. Image description for Leonardo AI, a massive explosion erupting from an asteroid in space, with debris and fragments flying in all directions against the black starfield. 3 large alien warships are caught in the blast, their hulls cracking and breaking apart in the brilliant white and orange explosion. The scene shows the moment of Ben Torres' sacrifice at Ceres colony, with the mining charges detonating and destroying both the human colony and the alien fleet. Pieces of metal, rock, and alien technology scatter through space as the explosion expands outward like a miniature supernova, creating a dramatic moment that sparked the human-alien war. The news of Admiral Kethris' death reached the Zephyrian homeworld 3 days after the Ceres explosion. Supreme Chancellor Zarkith stood in his massive throne room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the destruction. His nephews' ships were nothing but scattered debris floating in space. Zarkith was the most powerful being in the galaxy. For 500 years he had led the Zephyrian Collective in conquering world after world. No species had ever successfully resisted for more than a few days. But these humans had killed his family and destroyed 3 of his best warships with mining explosives. "Assemble the War Council," Zarkith commanded his advisors. His voice was cold and filled with rage. Within hours, the leaders of every species in the collective gathered in the Great Hall. There were the insect-like Vorthic warriors, the aquatic Murdine strategists, and dozens of other alien races that served under Zephyrian rule. "The humans have chosen death over submission," Zarkith announced to the assembled leaders. "They are too dangerous to be allowed to continue existing. I am declaring a war of complete extermination. Every human world will be burned. Every human ship will be destroyed. The species will be wiped from the galaxy." Some of the alien leaders looked uncomfortable. They had joined the collective for protection and trade, not for genocide. But none dared speak against the Supreme Chancellor's anger. "I will personally lead the Grand Fleet to their homeworld," Zarkith continued. "We will show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the collective." 2 weeks later, the largest military force in galactic history began moving toward human space. 5,000 warships, each one bigger than a city, 10 million soldiers, weapons that could crack planets in half. Zarkith was taking no chances with these stubborn humans, but humanity was not waiting helplessly for the alien armada to arrive. Ben Torres' sacrifice had awakened something in the human spirit. Across Earth and her colonies, people were preparing for the fight of their lives. Captain Alex Chun commanded a small squadron of converted cargo ships near the Jupiter system. Alex was a former merchant captain who had volunteered when the war started. He was smart and quick-thinking, the kind of person who could make split-second decisions under pressure. "Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight," Alex told his crew over the radio. "We hit fast, we hit hard, and we get out before they can respond. These aliens have better ships, but they think like conquerors. They don't know how to fight an enemy that won't stand still." Alex's ships were not built for war. They were old freighters and mining vessels that had been fitted with whatever weapons humans could build or steal from alien wrecks. But what they lacked in firepower, they made up for in speed and cunning. When a Zephyrian patrol fleet entered the Jupiter system, Alex was ready. His ships hid behind the giant planet's moons, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "All ships, this is Alex," he whispered into his radio. "Target their engine sections. We're not trying to destroy them, just cripple them so they can't chase." "Yes?" The human ships burst from behind the moons like angry wasps. They fired everything they had at the surprised alien vessels, then disappeared back into the maze of Jupiter's many moons before the Zephyrians could organize a proper response. The Attack lasted only 10 minutes, but when it was over, 3 alien ships were drifting helplessly with damaged engines. Alex's squadron had vanished without losing a single vessel. How is this possible? Demanded Commander Yexter, the surviving alien officer. These primitive ships should not be able to outmaneuver our technology. Meanwhile, on Mars Engineer, Matt Rodriguez was working 18 hours a day in a secret underground laboratory. Matt was a genius with machines who had studied every piece of alien technology that humans had captured since the Alaska incident. "Look at this," Matt said to his assistant, Dr. LeVar Kim, as he pointed to a piece of alien equipment on his workbench. "Their energy weapons are incredibly advanced, but they use the same basic principles as our electrical systems. If we can figure out how they generate this power, we can build our own versions." Matt had already created several prototype weapons based on alien designs. They were crude compared to the originals, but they worked. More importantly, they could be built in human factories using materials that Earth could produce. "The aliens make everything perfect," Matt explained to Dr. Kim. "Every component is exactly the right size, exactly the right strength, but that makes their technology fragile. If one part breaks, the whole system fails. Our weapons are simpler, but they're also tougher. A human soldier can drop one of our guns in the mud, and it will still fire." Within months, Matt's designs were being mass-produced in factories across Earth. Human soldiers finally had weapons that could hurt alien ships and armor. They were not as powerful as the originals, but they were good enough to level the playing field. In the asteroid belt, Commander Stephanie Walsh was organizing the most unusual military force in human history. Stephanie was a former Navy officer who understood that humans could not win a traditional space battle against the Zephyrian fleet. Instead, she was creating an army of guerrilla fighters. "Forget everything you know about proper military tactics," Stephanie told her volunteer crews. "We're not fighting a parade ground battle. We're fighting for survival. That means we use every advantage we can find." Stephanie's forces operated from hidden bases inside asteroids and abandoned space stations. They used the debris and wreckage floating throughout the solar system as cover. When Zephyrian ships came looking for them, the humans would strike from unexpected directions and then vanish into the cosmic junkyard of space. "The aliens are used to fighting civilized wars against organized armies," Stephanie explained to her captains. "They expect us to line up our ships and have a proper battle. Instead, we're going to be everywhere and nowhere. We'll hit their supply lines, their communication relays, their isolated patrol ships. We'll make them afraid to travel alone." The strategy was working better than anyone had expected. Zephyrian commanders found themselves constantly looking over their shoulders, never knowing when the next human attack would come. Their advanced sensors could not distinguish between human ships and the countless pieces of space debris that filled the solar system. As the months passed, the war became much more expensive than the Zephyrians had planned. They were losing ships every day to human raids. Their supply lines were constantly under attack. Their soldiers were getting nervous and making mistakes. Supreme Chancellor Zarkith received daily reports of these setbacks with growing frustration. He had expected the war to be over in weeks. Instead, it was dragging on and becoming a drain on the collective's resources. "How are these primitives able to resist our forces?" he demanded of his military advisors. General Viction, his top commander, struggled to explain. "Supreme Chancellor, the humans do not fight as we expected. They refuse to engage in proper battles. They attack from hiding, strike our weak points, and retreat before we can respond. It is dishonorable." "I do not care about honor," Zarkith replied coldly. "I care about results. Double our forces in human space. Triple them if necessary. I want this species extinct within the year." But even as more Zephyrian ships poured into the solar system, the human resistance continued to grow stronger. Every successful raid brought more volunteers to the cause. Every alien ship that was destroyed provided more technology for Matt Rodriguez to study and copy. Most importantly, the humans had something the Zephyrians did not understand: the willingness to sacrifice everything for their freedom. Every human Soldiers knew they were fighting not just for themselves, but for their families, their children, and their future as a free species. The war that was supposed to last weeks had now been going on for over a year. Other species in the Zephyrian Collective were beginning to ask uncomfortable questions about the costs. Some were starting to wonder if the humans might actually be able to win. The galaxy was watching. And for the first time in centuries, the Zephyrian Collective looked vulnerable. Image description for Leonardo AI, a chaotic space battle scene, showing small human ships darting between asteroids and space debris, launching surprise attacks on massive alien warships. The human vessels are converted cargo ships and mining craft, smaller and more agile than the sleek alien ships. Explosions light up the darkness as human fighters use hit-and-run tactics, striking from behind asteroids and then vanishing back into the cosmic debris field. In the background, the massive forms of Jupiter and its moons provide cover for the guerrilla forces. The scene captures the asymmetric nature of the conflict, with small, scrappy human ships outmaneuvering larger, more advanced alien vessels through cunning and determination. 2 years had passed since the war began, and both sides were bleeding. The Zephyrian Collective had lost over 1,000 ships and hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Earth's colonies were in ruins, and millions of humans had died defending their worlds. Neither side was winning, but neither side was willing to surrender. Supreme Chancellor Zarkith sat in his command ship orbiting Saturn, staring at reports that grew worse each day. 3 more member species had quietly withdrawn their fleets from the war, claiming they needed to defend their own territories. The truth was that they were tired of the endless fighting and the massive costs. "How many ships did we lose this week?" Zarkith asked his aide. 47 warships destroyed or damaged beyond repair, the aide replied nervously. "The humans attacked our supply convoy near Europa and destroyed an entire logistics fleet." Zarkith closed his eyes in frustration. When the war started, he thought it would be over in months. The humans were supposed to be weak and primitive. Instead, they had proven to be the most stubborn and resourceful enemy the Collective had ever faced on Earth. Admiral Kate Sullivan was dealing with her own problems. Kate had been promoted to Supreme Military Commander after the previous admiral was killed in a Zephyrian attack on Luna City. She was a tough woman with steel-gray hair and scars from a dozen battles. "Give me the casualty report," Kate said to her staff in the underground command center beneath New York. "We've lost 60% of our space fleet," reported General Mike Torres, Ben's younger brother who had joined the military after Ceres. "Our ground forces are holding, but barely. The aliens control most of the outer colonies," Kate nodded grimly. She knew that humanity was running out of ships, weapons, and people. But she also knew that the aliens were suffering too. Intelligence? Reports showed that the Zephyrian Collective was facing internal problems and resource shortages. "We can't keep this up much longer," Kate said quietly. "But neither can they." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sam Lee was a computer scientist who had been working on decoding alien data systems since the war began. Sam was a quiet man who preferred computers to people, but his work had been crucial in understanding Zephyrian technology. "Admiral Sullivan, you need to see this immediately," Sam said as he burst into Kate's office with a datapad in his hands. Sam had been analyzing information from a captured Zephyrian command ship. Most of the data was military intelligence about fleet movements and battle plans. But buried deep in the archives, Sam had found something much more important. "What am I looking at?" Kate asked as she studied the alien symbols on the screen. "It's a strategic planning document from the highest levels of the Zephyrian government," Sam explained. "But it's not about the war with us. It's about something called the Devourers." Sam pulled up a star map showing the galaxy with red markers indicating Devourer activity. "According to this data, there's an invasion force coming from outside our galaxy. The aliens call them the Devourers because they consume entire worlds, leaving nothing behind." Kate felt a chill run down her spine as she studied the map. "When are they supposed to arrive?" The projections show them reaching the outer rim of our galaxy in 8 years, Sam said. The Zephyrians have been trying to consolidate resources and territory to prepare for this invasion. That's why they've been so aggressive in conquering new worlds. Kate stared at the data for a long time. If this information was accurate, then both humans and Zephyrians were facing a threat that made their current war seem trivial. Can you verify this information? Kate asked. I've cross-referenced it with 6 different alien databases, Sam replied. It's all consistent. The Devourers are real and they're coming. Kate made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Get me a secure communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. I need to speak with their Supreme Chancellor. The first attempt at communication failed. The Zephyrians thought it was a human trick and refused to respond. But Kate was persistent. She had Sam broadcast the Devourer intelligence data along with her messages, proving that humans had access to highly classified Zephyrian information. Finally, after 3 days of trying, Supreme Chancellor Zarkith agreed to a meeting, but he demanded that it take place on neutral ground with proper security for both sides. The meeting was arranged on a small asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Kate brought only a small escort and one very important person, Luke Henderson. Luke was a former prisoner of war who had been captured during a raid on a Zephyrian outpost. Instead of being executed, he had been kept alive for questioning. During his 6 months in captivity, Luke had learned to speak the Zephyrian language fluently. He was the only human who could communicate directly with the aliens without translation. Software. I still can't believe we're doing this, Luke said to Kate as their shuttle approached the meeting site. 6 months ago, these aliens were trying to kill me. 6 months ago, we didn't know about the Devourers, Kate replied. Everything changes when you're facing extinction. The meeting took place in a hastily constructed building on the asteroid's surface. Zarkith arrived with his own guards and advisors. For the first time since the war began, humans and Zephyrians sat at the same table without shooting at each other. You claim to have information about the Devourer threat, Zarkith said through Luke's translation. Why should we believe anything you say? Kate activated a holographic display showing all the data that Sam had decoded. Because this information came from your own archives. Your military has been preparing for this invasion for decades. Zarkith studied the data with his advisors. Kate could see the recognition in their eyes. This was not fake human intelligence. This was real Zephyrian strategic planning. Even if this is accurate, Zarkith said, why would humans want to help us? We have been trying to exterminate your species. Kate leaned forward and looked directly at the alien leader. Because when the Devourers arrive, it won't matter who won our war. They'll kill us all equally. Your technology and our adaptability together might be enough to stop them. Separately, we're both dead. The negotiations took 3 days. Both sides had to overcome 2 years of hatred and mistrust. There were moments when the talks almost broke down completely. But the threat of the Devourers was too great to ignore. Finally, they reached an agreement. The war between humans and Zephyrians would end immediately. Both species would share technology and resources to prepare for the coming invasion. Human creativity and determination would be combined with Zephyrian advanced technology to create new weapons and defenses. There's one condition, Zarkith said on the final day. The human who destroyed my nephew's fleet on Ceres, his name was Ben Torres. In our culture, he would be considered a great warrior. We wish to honor his memory alongside our own fallen heroes. Kate was surprised but pleased. Ben Torres has become a symbol of human resistance. Honoring him would mean a great deal to our people. Luke translated the final agreements, and both leaders signed the treaty that ended the bloodiest war in galactic history. As they shook hands in the human custom, both Kate and Zarkith knew they were beginning a partnership that would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. The news of the alliance shocked both species. Many humans could not forgive the aliens for the destruction of their colonies. Many Zephyrians could not accept working with the species that had killed so many of their soldiers, but as the truth about the Devourers became public knowledge, both sides realized they had no choice. The enemy coming from beyond the galaxy. would show no mercy to either humans or Zephyrians. Ben Torres had sparked a war with his sacrifice at Ceres. But that same sacrifice had also taught both species a valuable lesson about courage and determination. Now his memory would help unite former enemies. Against a threat greater than either had ever faced alone, the galaxy would remember the human-Zephyrian war as the conflict that almost destroyed two civilizations, but ultimately saved them both. Image. Description for Leonardo AI, a historic moment showing human and alien leaders shaking hands in a meeting room built on an asteroid in space. Admiral Kate Sullivan, a stern human woman with gray hair and military uniform, is shaking hands with Supreme Chancellor Zarkith, a tall gray-skinned alien with multiple arms and large black eyes wearing ornate robes. Around them are mixed groups of human military officers and various alien species from the Zephyrian Collective. In the background, holographic displays show star maps and data about the approaching Devourer threat. The scene represents the end of the human-alien war and the beginning of an unprecedented alliance with the dark vastness of space visible through transparent walls.